Hello, everyone. Welcome to lesson 5-6. Today we're going to be talking about isosceles and equilateral triangles, and our notes are going to start with us on page 325. We have two lesson goals in this video. First, we're going to solve problems involving isosceles triangles, and then we're going to solve problems involving equilateral triangles. Pretty straightforward. So just to review what an isosceles triangle is, it is a triangle with at least two sides congruent. Those two congruent sides, and we can see them in the diagram here with our tick marks, those are called the legs, and then the angles that are between those sides, that's known as the vertex angle of the isosceles triangle. So that's angle 1, as you can see in the diagram here. And then the side of the triangle that is opposite the vertex angle, that's what we call the base, okay? Then at the ends of the base, we have angle 2 and angle 3 that are marked congruent here, and those are called the base angles because it makes sense because they're at the ends of the base. So angle 2 and angle 3 here are congruent. Base angles in an isosceles triangle are always congruent. Now we have a couple of theorems that's going to go along with this shape. First of all, we have theorem 5.10, which is known as the isosceles triangle theorem. And we can see here in this diagram, if we know that AC is congruent to BC, in other words, that the legs are congruent in a triangle, or that it is isosceles to begin with, then that lets us know that the base angles, angle 2 and angle 1, are going to be congruent. That direction of logic is called the isosceles triangle theorem, knowing the sides and then resulting in angles being congruent. And then we also have theorem 5.11, which is the converse of the isosceles triangle theorem. This, as we know, the converse reverses the direction of the logic. So before we knew the sides were congruent and that led us to the angles being congruent. Here we're starting with knowledge only about the angles being congruent, and then that leads to the sides being congruent. So let's see how we're going to use this. Before we use the theorem, though, let's prove it. So to prove the isosceles triangle theorem, in this triangle LMP, we're going to draw an auxiliary line and use the two triangles that are formed from drawing that line. And because auxiliary line is the dotted line we see here, that's just a fancy word for an extra line that we add into the diagram in a certain manner. And we are going to, in this case, connect that point L to N, and we're going to assume that LM is congruent to LP at the start. What we're asked to prove is the isosceles triangle theorem, that those base angles, angle M and angle P, are congruent. So given triangle LMP, we're going to assume that segment LM is congruent to segment LP. So let's add that marking to our diagram here. And notice the auxiliary segment that we've added is being drawn to N, and we're proving that, or we're using the information that N is the midpoint. So pick up with me at statement 3 here. We're told, because it's the midpoint, that MN is congruent to PN. Let's go ahead and add those tick marks. And of course, that is just the midpoint theorem that gets us there. That the smaller parts of the segment on either side of the midpoint are congruent. From there, notice we're filling in the blank for a statement that goes with a reflexive property. And we've used that a lot with our triangle congruence. So we know reflexive property is typically when a side is congruent to itself. So we'll stitch that middle auxiliary line to itself on either side, top and bottom triangle there. And so we will make the statement that Ln is congruent to Ln. Next, we know that Lm is congruent to Lp. And that, why do we know that? Well, we marked that at the beginning. That was a given statement. And so hopefully you can see in our diagram now, we have three sets of sides that are congruent. So that is a side-side-side congruence for the triangles, triangle LMN is congruent to triangle LPN in corresponding order. And then once we know the sides are congruent, as you know, we can prove any parts that correspond in those congruent triangles are congruent. So M, middle letter here, corresponds to P, middle letter there. And so angle M is congruent to angle P. And our final reason is that abbreviation that we've used before, CPCTC, or corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Again, that abbreviation is fine. So now that we know the theorem holds true, let's go ahead and use it. In example 2, we have an isosceles triangle here, and we're asked to find the measure of angle B and the measure of angle C. Now notice there aren't actually any tick marks or measures drawn on the triangle that's on the grid here for us. So we have a two-part sort of problem. We need to first determine the side relationships so that we can verify that this truly is isosceles, and then we'll go about determining the angle measures after that. To work through this problem, any problem on the grid between points, we're going to use the distance formula to calculate the measures of the sides of triangle ABC. And we have the coordinates given to us from the diagram. A is at 0, 3, B is at 4, -2, and C is at -4, -2. Hopefully you can see some symmetry happening there. So substituting those points into our distance formula, or if you want to on the diagram, use the Pythagorean theorem, right? And take any of the segments that are not horizontal or vertical and break them up into their right triangle component parts. We would have square root of 41 for both AB and AC. And remember, anytime we have two sides or more that are congruent, it is an isosceles triangle. Our base BC here, we can just count along the horizontal grid line or use distance formula. Either way, we get that that is an 8-unit length side. So now we're going to progress to determining the angle measures. Because we know that the triangle is isosceles, we know that angle C is going to be congruent to angle B by that isosceles triangle theorem. We know that the triangle angle sum theorem says that all three angles add up to 180. But if C is congruent to B, we can substitute in for the measure of angle C, another measure of angle B. So we end up with two measures of angle B in the mix. And we have the measure of A, two measures of B, and then 180 for our total. We're going to substitute in the value for the measure of angle A, which we know from the diagram, which is 70. And then when we do some quick subtraction, of course, we get 2 times the measure of angle B equals 110. And then divide, and we get 55 degrees. Take a pause on the video here and see if you can find the missing angle measures for the triangle that is graphed for you on the coordinate plane here. Moving on to our second learning goal, we're going to be talking about equilateral triangles. And so the isosceles triangle theorem leads to two corollaries. Remember, those are related theorems about the angles of an equilateral triangle. A triangle is equilateral. That part of that word lateral talks about sides. And think about your muscles have some lateral names, right, when they're on the sides. So we have equilateral if and only if it is equiangular. And a reminder that that if and only if means the logic flows both directions. So we are going to say equilateral leads to equiangular, and also equiangular leads to equilateral. Then also each angle of an equilateral triangle measures 60 degrees, because if we have a total of 180 and all of the angles are the same, we're going to divide into 3 equal parts and then we get a 60-degree angle. That is a number along with 180 that we see quite a lot in our work with triangles. So using these corollaries here in example 3, we're asked to find the measure of angle J, which notice is the vertex angle of what we have so far being an isosceles triangle. So our measures are the same, 12 feet on either side, and so that means those sides are congruent. Once we've established it, if you want, you can add those tick marks. So by the isosceles triangle theorem, both of the base angles, L and K, are also going to be congruent. So that puts us a 60-degree in the corner there. And with our triangle angle sum, we have all three angles measures adding up to 180. And now we have two of them filled in as 60. So we can do a quick subtraction there, and we can get that the measure of angle J is 60 in the end. Take a pause on the video and see if you can work through this example 3 check here. Next, we can use the idea of isosceles and equilateral triangles to find some missing values where we have some embedded algebra in the problem. So we have a billiards example here, and we're being asked to find the value of each of the variables. So it might be hard to see on the diagram, but we do have tick marks on sides A, B, and B, C. And so because they are congruent, the measures of the base angles at the ends of those legs, which is angle ACB over here, and angle, the second base angle would be, filling in, BAC by the isosceles triangle theorem. So that means that 6x plus 6 degrees is equal to our 60 degrees. And that if we solve real quick, 6x here equals 54. Dividing, we get that x equals 9. Then, because each of the angles of the triangle is going to measure 60 degrees, the triangle is equilateral. So we can set the expressions for the sides that we have, which involves the variable y, equal to each other. So we have 4y minus 2 equals 2y plus 2, and we get 2y equals 4, and y equals 2. Take a pause on the video and see if you can find the variables inside of this architecture example.
Okay, everyone, this is the part of the video where you really want to check back on the answers to those checks that were assigned to you as you were watching.
All right, for the check here for example 2, I'm on page 327. And we were asked to find the missing measures in the isosceles triangles here. We're trying to find the measure of angle XYZ and the measure of angle YZX. So this angle here and here. What can we figure out as far as what type of triangle this is? Well, if I go ahead and find the measure of side xy, or the length of side xy, using either Pythagorean theorem or distance formula. I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem because I have a nice grid going on here. And that appears to be a 3 by 3 right triangle. We're going to get that that's equal to the square root of 18. And hopefully you can see the same thing happening for also side xz is the square root of 18. And so that means that your xy is congruent to your xz. And if we think about the triangle angle sum theorem there, we have 2 times the measure of angle x, y, z, because those are base angles that are equal, is going to equal 180 degrees minus the 90 that we already know the right angle is. So the measure of angle XYZ is 90. Divide by 2, or 45 degrees. And this is isosceles that we've proven with the distance formula here. So that means the measure of angle YZX is also 45 degrees. In our check for example 3, which is on page 328 at the top there, we're finding the missing measures here in this equilateral triangle. So first of all, find the measure of angle R and the side PR is what we're being asked to do. So I know that the measure of angle P plus the measure of angle R plus the 60 degrees that I have there is equal to 180 degrees. But the measure of angle P and R are the same, so that's really 2 times the measure of angle, you can use either one, R or P, but we're trying to find R, so we'll set that in there. Subtract, we get 120, and divide, and we get the measure of angle R is equal to 60 degrees. So if R is 60, as we know with isosceles triangles, we've got base angles that are the same. And so all of a sudden, all of our angles are the same. And remember that reasons to also be equilateral. And so PR must be the same length as the other two sides. So we have 60 degrees and 5 centimeters. And finally, for our check on example 4 at the bottom of page 328 there, in our architecture example, make sure you're paying attention to the tick marks that we see and where they are. The tick marks are going to then have our angles of 2x being duplicated in all of those places. So we have 2x plus 2x plus 2x is equal to 180 degrees, or 6x equals 180, or x equals 30 degrees. And then for our y, now that we have proven that 2x equals 60 all the way around, that gives us an equiangular triangle, which means that it is equilateral. And when it's equilateral, we can set the expressions for the sides equal to each other. 115 is equal to 4y minus 5. Therefore, 120 is equal to 4y when we add, and when we divide, our y also comes out to be 30. So those are our basic types of examples that you will see in this lesson 5-6, and we'll see you in the practice.